This episode, the why of maintenance, the benefits of a regular maintenance program. The Handyman Pros had an epiphany. They realized that they discuss maintenance all the time, but they've never discussed why. This show is going to give you the why. Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is entitled, The Why of Maintenance. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy, John. John, what has been going on this week?
Hey, Larry. Well, this week, let me think. I'm getting pretty old. Well, you know, I've been doing some repair work on the house, and as you know, and I had replaced some decking on my on the deck, some deck boards and things like that a while ago that I had talked about, and I guess it was a couple of weeks ago that I finally got around to staining my deck. And I looked at my deck at just the whole structure and everything, and I was just examining everything, and everything looks good. And I kind of stood back and said, I thought to myself, hey, I'm glad I've really taken care of this thing for as long as I have, and I'm talking probably now 20 something years, and I've only replaced, maybe a handful of boards on that, and they really have been, hanging in there because I've just done a lot of maintenance on it. And then it kind of dawned on me, one thing leads to another, and I thought, well, I was just in Home Depot looking for some other 5/4 boards, those 5/4 boards that generally the deck boards themselves, and how much lumber has gone up. Now, we've talked about it before, but it is just incredible when I thought about if I had to replace all the deck boards, if I hadn't taken care of that thing, and I had to replace all those boards, how much it would cost me now to do that.
So, this is caused short term by COVID. Do we agree with that? It's a
well. There's
factors.
three things. There's three things that have gone on. You mean the price of lumber? There's three things there's three things that I understand. I think part of what I was doing, I guess maybe a week ago, is researching this in the money markets and all that. They're talking about really three things. One is the COVID.
And that was a shutdown of production, right?
So that was a production. That was a disruption. That's a disruption in the supply chain all the way around. The second thing was that that we've had a tariff issue with Canada. We're getting a lot of lumber from Canada, so that was driving some prices up. And then the third thing is that they were all surprised how much DIY has been going on. That's really been placing a lot of demand on the supply of wood. So some of the things I've read now is that the supply and demand is so out of balance right now. They've never seen it, this out of balance in the lumber industry. So anyways, not to go through the whole thing, but what that does, right, is Econ 101, right, Larry? You went to college.
Yeah, I told you, best 7 years of my life, right?
Yeah, you passed. We both passed by and waved. So it was one of those things where that when it becomes an imbalance, the price is going to change. Yep, one way or the other, and then this way, it's really gone up. So, anyways, the thing is that I was just really happy that I've really maintained the outside of my house, and especially that part that really gets a lot of sun, a lot of rain. It really gets hammered out there,
right? And
it's important to take care of it. So that kind of precipitated talking to us about the importance of maintenance. And like you said, we talk about this a lot in specifics.
But we haven't talked about it generally, right? We haven't gone over the big picture. Not as a topic, a standalone topic as of itself. Right. So my background does come out of, along with being a handyman and things, I come out of the medium and heavy duty truck. I've been around equipment my whole life, right? And you've been around equipment your whole life, John. And it's just things, and we're both automotive guys to a large degree. We're automotive guys. And everybody talks about preventative maintenance or maintenance in general in the truck world, in the equipment business world, in airplanes, right? It's all about maintenance, right?
Manufacturing, everything,
right, is all about maintenance. And so we just decided we wanted to go over some of the reasons why you actually should have a good maintenance program on your home or, on your properties or whatever it is. But there's parts to it, right? So maintenance is it a pain? Yes, to a degree, but it also has a payback involved with it. Do you agree with that, John?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really essential when you stand back and look at this.
Yeah, and it's kind of a pay me now or pay me later, right? And we've talked about the specifics on this. We've talked about things like wood rot, right? And we talk ad nauseum about wood rot. At least it seems like we do. But what's the cause of most wood rot? It's either there's always another cause. Wood does just rot, but mostly it's because it's wet, right? And so you either can ignore it and pay me later, right? Or you can address it now and pay less, right? We talk about this over and over again. Wood rot, plumbing, PRV valves. In your car, it's oil changes, right? It's in the airplanes, it's checking, rivets and checking props and balances and stuff like that, like on and on and on, right? And it all boils down, or not all, it doesn't boil down to just it, but it's pay me now or pay me later, right? You're going to either pay me now and do maintenance on a regular basis, or you're going to pay a lot more later, because what happens later is catastrophic, right? So again, our goal here, as we always say, is to save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance or repair. So we thought we'd have these conversations. John, does maintenance add to longevity of a home?
Oh, absolutely, it does.
I mean, to your points, just your deck boards, right? But what else?
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything. That's why you paint a house, right?
Correct.
You just need to keep up with everything, and if you don't, we've said it before on the show, but from this topic is that you really want to pay attention to everything, all of your stuff,
all of your stuff.
You wanna make sure that you are properly maintaining everything. Like I was saying earlier, is that if I hadn't done what I did for the deck outside, is that it would cost me a lot of money right now to put new boards on that deck, and it's just not the deck, it's everything. That's cleaning behind your refrigerator, the coils, we talk about all this kind of stuff, but that is it's very important.
Yeah, and effectively, it's almost like a guaranteed return, right? If we wanted to put it in financial terms. So, because the future is unknown, right? Like, would we, in all seriousness, I mean, I was just in Lowe's the other day, and I snapped a picture. I put it on the Facebook page. But I took a picture of a 2x4x8, right? This was not the premium 2x4x8. This was the regular 2x4x8, $7.48. John, back in February, what were we buying 2x4s for?
I want to say they were like $1.98, something like that. Is that right? $2?
I think they were about $2 to $2.50, just depending. But
maybe,
but they weren't $7.48. They weren't even. They were at least at the most they were $3.50. I don't know. I'd have to go back and pull some receipts, but they weren't. I mean. I literally was I don't generally snap a picture and post it on the Facebook, and I'm not bagging on Lowe's because it's the same thing across the street
it's
at
everywhere.
Home Depot. Yeah, it's not like this isn't just, that just happened to be where I caught it, and I was like, wow. So, those 2x4s that I bought back in February I got a guaranteed return of almost 100% on my 2x4s. Your deck boards, John, has there been a problem getting 5-quarter pressure treated deck boards?
There was for a long time. The supply chain really was disrupted, and now they're I think the last ones that I bought earlier in the summer, I want to say that I spent I think around $7 or $8 for each one of them. Now they were only like 8 or 10 feet or something, like now there's like 17.
Yeah
And I was like, whoa.
And they're hard to come by. They were hard to come by.
And they were hard to get. They were non-existent actually, and they were. I've never seen it. I've never seen the big box stores running out of lumber like they had.
Yeah, no, me neither. But in this conversation about maintenance, right, about keeping things up, it's not only like these are times like no other, right? I mean, we understand that, right? That these are like times like no other that we've not seen. But there's still, if you're looking at things like, I don't know, I'm going to say appliances, like say you have a stove or a range or something. You know, if you maintain it, right, and you take good care of it, you're being proactive versus reactive, right? So instead of fixing it when it breaks, you're keeping it from breaking to begin with. But you'll also pick off, and I think you'll agree with this, sometimes you can pick off when something's actually getting ready to die, or you're looking at it, and even in just the process of your maintenance, we've talked about this. We talked about this in our water heater episode and a couple of other episodes. These items all have a natural date that they die on, and you can go, there's as I say, there's this light report from the National Association of Home Builders that's like 75 pages that gives you the age of all the things in your home, and appliances being one of them, but it talks about your driveway and your stud, it talks about every single aspect of your home, your concrete, everything. I need to publish that. I'll publish that on the website one of these days. But anyway, everything has a thing. So if you want a choice, right, of what you want to repair, you know, if you're just for example, your stove's not a great example, but say it's your HVAC system or something, and say you want to upgrade,
absolutely,
you know, and that thing dies, at least here in the South, and it's 100 degrees outside. You know, you're not in a position to choose. You're in a position to, your contractor's going to say, this is what I have. This will work for your application. It's all your, you know. It's
what are you going to do? Argue when it's 120 inside your house?
Yeah, right. I mean, you're not in a position to actually choose. Where if you do your maintenance and you sort of start keeping an eye on it, and you go, you know, my thing is going to die one of these days. Like, because you know your HVAC unit's 20 years old. Yeah, you're riding. You know, every summer you're riding the edge on that. Right?
Exactly. Well, this is, you know, I was in manufacturing for a long time, and that, you know, this is, you know, these are your assets, and your assets need to be taken care of, and your assets need to be accounted for. You know, they need to have their own little, you know, if you're in that world, to keep kind of a logbook on these assets, knowing how old they are, and you know, if they're in warranty, they're out of warranty, that kind of thing. Well, I'll tell you that, you know, I've seen electric motors that you know, in the manufacturing business that might have been $20,000 that the people never kept track of, that needed maintenance, or they died and they didn't even know that they were still in warranty.
Oh, wow.
And they went out and bought new ones.
Wow.
Okay. So, you know, it's all this kind of tracking and the things that you were talking about being the, you know, preventative maintenance. You know, you're not going to get caught with a, you know, kind of a disaster on your hands either.
Well, I was just going to say, you can avoid a disaster. That's more like disasters. Say, we were in our water heater show, we talked about if a water heater breaks open, you've got a disaster on your hands. I mean, a disaster. Exactly
right. That's right. Well, you've also got a disaster if you're living up north and it's February and your furnace goes.
Yes, you have a life-threatening disaster at that point.
Exactly. So
having both of us live there, right? You know,
right?
Like we get it. You know, and then we always talk about uptime too. You know, and about kind of a combination of uptime and planning, and all of this stuff sort of rolls into itself. They're intertwined. You know, but being able to plan a repair is certainly easier than being proactive is easier than being reactive for a whole series of different reasons. But, you know, you can schedule it at that point. You schedule when you want it done. You don't react to it, you know. John, do contractors ever charge extra for emergency services?
Yeah, that's a perfect example right there. You know, you call somebody out of bed at 2 a.m. because you got a flood. You know, you're going to pay for that call. You know, there's no doubt. So, you know, you're exactly right. Now, some things, you know, just happen, you know, but then there's other things that might have been brewing, you know, over time. And that was really the crux of this show, is to, you know, hey, think of this in advance so that you're not caught from behind, so that you can save money on these things. You do have the choice of what you want to do to replace it if you have to, get rid of something, or, you know,
Well, and this has been put forth in some of the financial independence groups that I follow a lot around in is that it actually does give you a better ability to actually negotiate the rates.
That's right.
Things.
Absolutely.
Because it's just like with us, John. I mean, and you know this, in the handyman business, right? We know that if we can plan our weeks out and plan our travel times out and things like that, which in our business is kind of tough, but it's not impossible, that we can achieve a bit of an economy of scale if we're driving, if we're not having to drive across town and then back across to the other side of town. If we can batch things together, we can become more efficient. And that holds true for any contracting business. Their abilities meaning, like if you take a plumber or an electrician or anyone, they generally don't have the ability to plan their weeks out all that well because more people are reactive than proactive. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these contractors would kill to have it be able to be planned. If they could put a guy and they could take a guy and say, today you're here, tomorrow you're there, or today you're here and here, they're a mile apart. And tomorrow, less time and wear and tear on the vehicle, less travel time, all those little killers that just eat you up in getting jobs done, they don't get it as much as they would like to, and they'll actually in some ways pay you for it. The other side is if they can order, like for example, if you need to order a new HVAC unit, they can if you give them time, they can shop price. They can actually go shop price on materials because believe it or not, just like everyone, they might have a month where they need to get, if they got one more unit, they get a huge price discount. Say they go from 49 to 50 units, or I'm picking numbers out of the air. But John, it's true that there's that that volume discount concept in manufacturing is real. And if a guy can plan that, because you have the, if you don't need if you're going to replace your air conditioning this year, that gives a guy a whole year to work with it. To work with working those numbers out, and it's got real value, which in turn allows you to negotiate a little bit better of an opportunity on it, on the particular piece that you're looking to replace. Versus my unit just blew up, I need you over here tomorrow. What can you do for me? And the answer is going to be, I'll be lucky if I can be there tomorrow.
Right.
So there's that as well. What else do we got, John?
Oh no, I think that's just something that everybody needs to take a hard look at, and I certainly look at these things like they are, which they are the assets of your home, and just same thing with your car. You want to keep a log book on your car, and you've got all kinds of things that are important to maintain.
It's a big piece of equipment,
or you're going to be on some part of this planet on that car that you want to get back, and it ain't going to come back. So it's going to die, and you just need to do. It's the same thing with everything else, and that's why you need to take a look at it, because I will tell you that you can save a lot of money doing this.
Yeah,
and just really being proactive on it,
and just save yourself a lot of. It's back to that aggravation. Yep. It just saves the aggravation. It's like, wow, I don't have to worry about it. I looked at it last week. I mean, I cleaned my dryer vent out the other day, and I took out all this stuff, and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I did that, because now I know it's clean, and I don't have to worry about a dryer fire. It's just all that little stuff. It's not a big deal. So, John, I was out in the yard the other day, and this spaceship had landed, and I was taking it apart, and I came up, and inside the hood of this spaceship, there was a sticker. It said, Jiffy Lube, replace the oil at 1 million AUs, which is astronomical units. Do you believe that? Have you had a similar experience?
I have, and I actually found the maintenance logbook.
And there you go. So even our aliens are listening to us. Folks, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send us an email. That's questions@Handyman Pros Radio Show. Go to our website. You can leave us a message up in the upper right-hand corner. We are on Facebook @Handyman Pros, or follow us on Twitter @Handyman Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.